The question fell into the room like a stone into still water, sending invisible ripples through every heart present. For a brief moment, time seemed to pause, and the sunlight pouring through the office windows felt heavier than usual, as if even the day itself was holding its breath. A single father stood there, worn shoes against polished marble flooring, his little daughter clutching his hand, unaware that the next few seconds would rewrite both of their lives forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when people choose compassion, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Heartwarming Tales to keep stories like this alive. Arman Qureshi had never imagined he would be standing inside a towering corporate headquarters on a bright Tuesday morning, surrounded by glass walls, expensive furniture, and people dressed in suits worth more than his monthly salary. Just a few years earlier, his life had been simple. He worked as a delivery driver, came home to his wife Sana, and spent evenings dreaming about saving enough money to give their daughter a better future. But life had not followed the script he had written in his heart. Sana had fallen ill suddenly, and within months, hospital bills swallowed every savings they had. By the time she passed away, Arman was left with debt, grief, and a 2-year-old girl named Meher who depended entirely on him. Becoming both mother and father overnight was like learning to breathe underwater. There were mornings he woke up before sunrise to prepare breakfast, pack a small lunchbox with whatever he could afford, and drop Meher at a neighbor's house before rushing to work. There were nights when exhaustion pressed down on his shoulders so heavily that he fell asleep sitting upright beside her bed. Yet every time Meher smiled, something inside him refused to break. She was his reason to keep going, his anchor in a world that had turned unpredictable. On that particular morning, Arman had come to the building to deliver a package. Meher had insisted on coming with him because her daycare was closed, and he could not afford to miss work. She wore a faded yellow dress, her hair tied unevenly with a ribbon Arman had attempted to fix himself. To him, she looked perfect. To others, she looked like an ordinary child. But to one man in that office, she looked startlingly familiar. The CEO, Rehan Malik, was known for his sharp business instincts and intimidating presence. Employees often whispered about how he noticed details no one else saw. When his eyes landed on Meher, something in his expression shifted. It was subtle, almost invisible, but Arman noticed it. The CEO's gaze lingered on the child's face longer than expected, tracing her features as if searching through memories he had buried years ago. Then came the question that would change everything, the question about why the little girl resembled him so much. For a moment, Arman felt panic rise inside him. His first instinct was fear, the kind that comes from years of being judged for not fitting into society's idea of success. But then he remembered Sana's voice, gentle and steady, telling him that truth always finds its own path. He took a breath and explained the story he had carried silently for years. Before marrying Sana, she had worked as a domestic helper in a wealthy household. She had been young, vulnerable, and alone. When she became pregnant, the family she worked for dismissed her immediately to avoid scandal. She never revealed the father's identity, choosing instead to leave the past behind and start a new life. Arman had met her later, fallen in love knowing she already carried a child, and married her without hesitation. To him, Meher had never been anything other than his daughter. As Arman spoke, the CEO's face changed from confusion to shock, then to something deeper, something raw and human. The room no longer felt like a corporate office but like a space where long-buried truths were surfacing under the harsh clarity of daylight. Rehan realized that years ago, during a reckless period of his life, he had made choices he never revisited, decisions he convinced himself were insignificant. Now those choices stood before him in the form of a child with his eyes. But what transformed the moment was not the revelation of biological connection. It was Arman's calm, unwavering love. He did not ask for money, recognition, or sympathy. He only spoke about Meher's laughter, her love for drawing sons with oversized smiles, and his hope that she would grow up believing she was wanted in this world. The CEO, a man who negotiated million-dollar deals without emotion, found himself overwhelmed by the quiet dignity of the father in front of him. That day did not end with dramatic announcements or instant miracles. Instead, it ended with a conversation that carried honesty and responsibility. Over the following weeks, Rayhan chose to become part of Meher's life, not to replace Armin, but to support the child he had unknowingly brought into the world. He funded her education, ensured Armin's debts were cleared, and even offered Armin a stable job within his company. But the most powerful change was internal. Rayhan began volunteering, investing in programs for single parents, and re-evaluating what success truly meant. Years later, on another bright morning filled with sunlight, Meher stood on a school stage receiving an academic award, with both men in the audience clapping proudly. One had given her life, the other had given her love, and together they had given her a future. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like, share, and comment, because your support helps spread messages of hope to people who may be struggling silently right now. Special request: comment the word hope if you believe love is stronger than circumstances. The truth is, families are not always defined by blood. Sometimes they are built by sacrifice, sleepless nights, and the courage to stand beside someone when life falls apart. And on that ordinary daytime morning when a CEO asked a simple question, 3 lives changed forever, proving that compassion can rewrite destinies in ways no one expects.